The council chamber stretched wide and tall, like a cathedral made of metal and glass. Lights from 1,000 stars shone through the transparent walls. Captain Hyunwoo Kim stood in the center of the room, feeling very small. Around him, seated on platforms that floated in the air, were the leaders of the galaxy. He had prepared for this moment for 3 years. Earth had sent its best people. Ambassador Minho Choi stood beside him, wearing the formal uniform of the United Earth government. Lieutenant Jawan Park waited behind them, her hand resting near her tablet computer. They had come to ask one simple question: could humanity join the Galactic Council? The answer was not what they expected. Council leader Vrath looked down at them. He was tall, maybe 3 meters high, and his body was made of something like crystal. Light passed through him and made rainbow patterns on the floor. When he spoke, his voice sounded like rocks grinding together. "We have reviewed your application," Vrath said. His words echoed in the huge room. "We have studied your species for 50 years. We have examined your bodies, your technology, and your civilization." Hyunwoo felt hope rising in his chest. 50 years was a long time. Surely the Council had seen what humanity could do. Earth had shared its art, its music, its science. They had traded peacefully with alien merchants. They had caused no trouble. "And we have reached a decision," Vrath continued. "Humanity is not qualified to join this council." The words hit Hyunwoo like a punch. Beside him, Ambassador Minho closed his eyes for just a moment. Jiwon's hand tightened into a fist. "May we ask why?" Minho said. His voice stayed calm and professional. "We have met every requirement listed in the Galactic Charter. We have maintained peace. We have shown technological progress," a new voice answered. It belonged to General Thex, a creature that looked like a giant insect with too many arms. His armor was black and shiny, covered with medals and symbols. "Your requirements?" Thex laughed. The sound was harsh and cruel. "Let me tell you what we see when we look at humans. We see weak bodies. No claws, no armor, no poison. You cannot survive in space without machines. You cannot breathe most atmospheres. Your lifespans are pathetically short." Another council member spoke up. This one was Corthan, with scales like a lizard and eyes that glowed red. "Your weapons are primitive. Your ships are slow. Your soldiers are fragile. One of my warriors could kill 20 of yours." Vrath raised a hand and the others went quiet. "The Council has decided to classify Earth as a developing civilization. You will be restricted to your current territory. Your trade rights will be limited. You will not be allowed to colonize beyond your current settlements." Hyunwoo felt anger building inside him, but he pushed it down. Getting angry would not help. He had been a soldier before becoming a diplomat. He knew when to fight and when to wait. "With respect, Council Leader," Hyunwoo said, stepping forward. "You judge us only by our physical bodies. But humanity has survived for thousands of years through intelligence and adaptation. We have—" "Silence!" Thex's voice was like thunder. "You dare to argue with this council? This proves you are not ready. You are like children thinking you deserve a seat at the adult table." Other council members laughed. Some made sounds that might have been laughter in their own languages. Hyunwoo felt his face grow hot. He had fought in wars. He had commanded ships in dangerous situations. And now these aliens were treating him like a stupid child. Ambassador Minho touched Hyunwoo's arm gently. "A warning. Do not make this worse." "We understand the Council's decision," Minho said. "We hope that in the future you will reconsider. Earth remains committed to peaceful cooperation with all galactic species." "How noble," one council member said. The sarcasm was thick in his voice. Vrath waved his hand. "This session is concluded. The human delegation will return to their ship and depart within 6 hours. These are our terms, and they are not negotiable." The floating platforms began to move away, carrying the council members to different exits. Within moments, the huge chamber was nearly empty. Only the 3 humans remained, standing in the center of the floor. Jiwan looked at her tablet. Her face was pale. "Captain," she whispered, "I'm picking up something strange. Encrypted military communications. Multiple council fleets are changing course." Hyunwoo moved to look at her screen. Years of military training made him understand what he was seeing immediately. 3 fleets, each with dozens of ships, were moving in the same direction. And that direction was toward human space. "They're not just rejecting us," Hyunwoo said quietly. "They're planning something." Minho looked at the data and his expression became very serious. "We need to warn Earth immediately." They walked quickly toward the exit. The space station called Apex Prime was massive. home to millions of beings from hundreds of species. As they moved through the corridors, Hyunwoo noticed something. Aliens were staring at them. Some looked away quickly when they made eye contact. Others smiled in a way that did not seem friendly. The humans had been here for weeks preparing for the council meeting. People had been polite, even friendly. Now everything felt different. It was like the whole station knew something the humans did not. They reached their ship, the Taiguchi, docked in the military section of the station. As soon as they were inside, Minho went straight to the communications room. "Get me Earth Command," he ordered. "Priority Alpha. Encryption level maximum." While they waited for the connection, Jiwon pulled up more data. "Captain, those fleets are definitely heading toward our territory. Based on their speed and direction, they'll reach the Outer Rim in about 40 hours. Which colonies are in that area?" Hyunwoo asked, though he already knew the answer. "New Jeju," Jiwon said. "Population 200,000. Light defenses." They were never expecting a military threat. The communication screen came to life. Admiral Suji Kang appeared, her gray hair tied back in a tight knot. She was the commander of Earth's 3rd Defense Fleet, based near the Outer Rim. "Ambassador Choi," she said, "I hope you have good news." "We don't," Minho said. "The council rejected our application. But that's not why I'm calling. Admiral, we have evidence that council fleets are heading toward New Jeju. We believe an attack is imminent." Suji's face became hard and focused. "Send me everything you have." "How long do we have?" "Less than 2 days," Jiwon said. "Not enough time to evacuate," Suji said. "We'll have to defend them. I'll move my fleet into position immediately." Hyunwoo leaned forward. "Admiral, you'll be outnumbered. The council's ships are more powerful than ours. We should request backup from the home fleet. By the time they arrive, it will be too late," Suji said. "We fight with what we have." "That's always been the human way, hasn't it, Captain?" She saluted and ended the transmission. The 3 humans sat in silence for a moment. Outside the window, Apex Prime sparkled with lights. Somewhere out there in the darkness between stars, war was coming. Hyunwoo thought about the council's words: weak, fragile, primitive. They had looked at humanity and seen nothing worth respecting. They were about to learn how wrong they were. "Course for New Jeju," Hyunwoo ordered. "Maximum speed. If there's going to be a fight, we should be there." Jiwon started the engine sequence. "Course set. We'll arrive about the same time as the Admiral's fleet." As the Taiguchi pulled away from the station, Hyunwoo looked back at the council chambers one last time. The aliens thought they knew everything about humanity. They had studied humans for 50 years and decided they were weak, but they had never asked the most important question: what happens when you corner something that refuses to give up? Soon the galaxy would learn the answer. The colony of New Jeju looked beautiful from orbit. Green forests covered the valleys. Blue oceans reflected the sunlight. Small cities dotted the landscape, connected by roads and railways. It was home to 200,000 people who had come from Earth to start a new life among the stars. Private Daehyun Song stood guard at the main spaceport, watching ships come and go. He was 19 years old and had been stationed here for 6 months. Nothing exciting ever happened on New Jeju. Most days he just checked identification cards and made sure cargo shipments matched their paperwork. Today felt different. His radio crackled. "All units, this is command. We have multiple unidentified ships approaching the system. Battle stations. This is not a drill." Daehyun's heart jumped. He grabbed his rifle and ran toward the defensive position. Around him, other soldiers were doing the same. They had practiced this many times, but everyone knew it was just practice. New Jeju was peaceful. Who would attack them? In orbit, Admiral Suji Kang watched the enemy ships approach. 6 massive warships, each one 3 times the size of her largest vessel. She had 12 ships in her fleet. The odds were not good. "Identify the enemy," she ordered. "Council ships," her tactical officer reported. "Drellian design. Heavy armor, plasma weapons. Leading ship is broadcasting General Thex's command signature." Suji felt cold. General Thex himself. This was not a small raid or a misunderstanding. This was an invasion force. The Taiguchi arrived just behind the Admiral's fleet. Captain Hyunwoo immediately opened a channel to Suji's flagship. "Admiral, we're here to help," he said. "Appreciate it, Captain," Suji replied. "But one more ship won't change the math. We're badly outnumbered. Then what's the plan?" "We fight anyway," Suji said simply. Start evacuating civilians to the ships. We'll buy them as much time as we can. Hyunwoo wanted to argue, to find some clever solution, but he knew she was right. Sometimes there were no good choices. There was only the choice to fight or to run, and Admiral Suji had never run from anything in her life. General Thex's voice came over the open channel. He spoke in English, wanting the humans to understand every word. "Humans of New Jeju," he said, "you are now property of the Galactic Council. Surrender immediately. Disable your weapons. Gather in the designated areas. If you obey, some of you will be allowed to live as workers. If you resist, we will burn your colony to ash." On the ground, Daehyun heard the message over the colony's speakers. Workers, that meant slaves. And "some of you will live" meant most would die. He looked at the other soldiers around him. They were scared. He was scared. But nobody moved to surrender. "What do we do, Sergeant?" a young woman asked. Sergeant Junho Lee was an older man with scars on his face from previous battles. He had fought in Earth's last war, back before the planet united. He checked his rifle and smiled. "We do what humans always do," Junho said. "We fight." In orbit, Admiral Suji did not bother responding to Thex's demand. Instead, she gave her fleet a simple order. "All ships attack pattern Delta, target their engines and weapons. Make them pay for every meter they advance." The human ships accelerated forward. They were smaller and faster than the Council warships. They spread out, forcing the enemy to split their fire. The first barrage of plasma fire lit up space like lightning. The Council's weapons were incredibly powerful. One shot could destroy a human ship completely. But the human ships were quick. They dodged and weaved, making themselves hard to hit. Hyunwoo's tactical officer, Lieutenant Jiwon Park, coordinated their attack. Firing missiles. All tubes away. Dozens of missiles streaked toward the nearest Council ship. The enemy's defense system shot down most of them, but a few got through. Explosions blossomed against the ship's armor. When the smoke cleared, the armor was barely scratched. "Their shields are too strong," Jiwon reported. "Then we get closer," Hyunwoo said. "All power to engines. Bring us into knife-fighting range." The Taguki dove toward the enemy ship, so close that the Council's big weapons could not track them properly. At this range, they could target weak points, places where the armor was thinner. It worked, but it was incredibly dangerous. One hit from the enemy's weapons and they would be destroyed. Hyunwoo felt sweat running down his back as he watched his ship dodge plasma bolts by mere meters. On the planet, the Council dropships began landing. Huge craft carrying hundreds of soldiers. They came down near the major cities, their weapons already firing. Private Daehyun and his unit opened fire from their defensive position. Their bullets bounced off the enemy soldiers' armor. The Council troops were huge, each one wearing powered armor that made them look like walking tanks. "Fall back," someone shouted. But Sergeant Junho had a different idea. "Into the city. Use the buildings for cover. Make them fight for every street." The human soldiers retreated into the urban area. The Council troops followed, confident and unstoppable. They had done this before on other worlds. Weak species always ran or surrendered. But humans did something unexpected. They started fighting dirty. Daehyun and 3 other soldiers hid in a building's basement. When Council troops walked past, the humans detonated explosives hidden in the street. The explosion did not kill the armored soldiers, but it knocked them down and damaged their equipment. Human soldiers rushed out and attacked the fallen troops at close range, targeting the weak joints in their armor. It was brutal and desperate, but it worked. All over the city, similar ambushes happened. Humans used their knowledge of the terrain. They collapsed buildings on enemy troops. They flooded underground tunnels. They turned the colony into a maze of death traps. Dr. Yuna Lee watched the battle from the civilian shelter. She was a xenobiologist, someone who studied alien species. As she watched the Council troops on the security cameras, she noticed something important. "They're confused," she said out loud. "What?" someone asked. "The Council soldiers. They're not adapting. They keep walking into ambushes. They're not changing their tactics." Yuna realized the truth. The Council had never fought an enemy like humans before. In galactic warfare, when one side was clearly losing, they surrendered. That was logical. That was civilized. Humans were not civilized when they were cornered. Humans got vicious in orbit. The space battle was going badly. Admiral Suji had lost 4 ships. The enemy was damaged, but still functional. She made a decision that shocked everyone. All remaining ships ramming speed, she ordered. "Target the enemy flagships. We're taking them with us." Her officers stared at her. "Admiral, that's suicide," someone said. Yes, Suji agreed. But it will work. Now follow your orders. The human ships turned and accelerated directly toward the Council warships. The enemy tried to shoot them down, but the humans were coming too fast, too determined. 3 human ships slammed into Council vessels at incredible speed. The impacts were like small nuclear explosions. The human ships were destroyed instantly, but so were 2 of the Council's most powerful warships. General Thex watched from his command ship in disbelief. They destroyed their own ships? On purpose? His tactical officer was silent. He did not know how to explain it either. On the ground, the battle continued through the day and into the night. The Council controlled most of the colony now, but they had paid a terrible price. Thousands of their soldiers were dead. Their equipment was damaged. And the humans still refused to surrender. Sergeant Junho was wounded, but he kept fighting. Private Daehyun was beside him, down to his last magazine of ammunition. "We can't win," Daehyun said. "No," Junho agreed. "But we can make them remember us." They detonated their last explosive, collapsing the building they were in. It fell on a group of Council soldiers, crushing several of them. By morning, the battle was over. The Council had won. They controlled New Jeju, but General Thex looked at the cost and felt something he had never felt before. Fear. He had started with 6 ships. Now he had 2. He had brought 50,000 soldiers. More than half were dead or wounded, and he had only defeated 12,000 humans, most of whom were not even trained soldiers. He sent a message back to the Council. "These humans are not what we thought. They do not surrender. They do not fear death. They fight like demons. We won the battle, but if they are all like this, we cannot win the war." In space, Captain Hyunwoo's damaged ship limped away from the battlefield. He had survived, but just barely. He looked at the colony below, now occupied by enemy forces. He thought about Admiral Suji, who had died ramming her ship into the enemy. He thought about Sergeant Junho and Private Daehyun and all the soldiers who had fought, knowing they could not win. The Council thought that battle proved humans were weak. They were wrong. That battle proved humans were the most dangerous thing in the galaxy, a species that would rather die than kneel. News of New Jeju spread across human space like wildfire. Every station, every colony, every city on Earth heard what happened. 200,000 civilians attacked, thousands dead. The colony occupied by Council forces. The galaxy expected Earth to surrender. They expected humans to beg for mercy, to accept whatever terms the Council offered. That was what civilized species did when they were beaten. Humanity did not surrender. Instead, Earth declared total war. Engineer Hanabe stood in the weapons research facility, looking at the holographic display. She had not slept in 3 days. Neither had anyone else in her team. They were working around the clock to solve one problem. How could humans fight enemies with superior armor and weapons? "We can't match their technology," one engineer said. "Their shields are too strong. Their armor is too thick. Our weapons barely scratch them." Hana stared at the data from the Battle of New Jeju. The humans had lost, but they had destroyed Council ships. How? She replayed the footage of Admiral Suji's ramming attack. "Volume," she said suddenly. "We can't punch through their armor with one hit. But what if we hit them with 1,000 things at once?" She pulled up a new design. Instead of big, expensive missiles, they would build thousands of small, cheap ones. Instead of powerful lasers, they would use hundreds of weak ones. The Council's defenses were designed to stop a few powerful attacks. They were not designed to stop swarms. "It will work," Hana said. "We just need to make them fast. A lot of them." Within a week, every factory on Earth and in human space was retooled for war production. Assembly lines that once made cars now made missiles. Shipyards that built cargo vessels now built warships. Every resource, every worker, every machine was focused on one goal: building the weapons to fight back. Commander Jamin Han received his orders in a sealed envelope. He was Special Operations, trained for the most dangerous missions. His team of 30 soldiers were the best Earth had. They could fight in any environment, use any weapon, and they never quit. The orders were simple: go behind enemy lines and cause chaos. "We are not trying to win battles," the orders read. "We are trying to make the Council afraid." Jamin smiled. Fear was something humans understood very well. His team took a small stealth ship deep into Council territory. They avoided the military zones and went straight for the soft targets. supply depots, communication stations, civilian infrastructure. Their first target was a fuel depot on the planet Korthas. The planet was home to billions of Council civilians. It had never been attacked in 1,000 years. Jamin's team landed at night. They moved through the shadows like ghosts. The security guards never saw them coming. Within an hour, the fuel depot was rigged with explosives. The team was back on their ship when the charges went off. The explosion could be seen from orbit. Millions of gallons of fuel burned. It would take months to replace. Before they left, Yamin sent a message on all Council frequencies. This is a message from humanity. You attacked our homes. Now we will attack yours. Nowhere is safe. We are coming. On Earth, Captain Mingio was testing humanity's new weapon, the Swarm Fighter. It was small, barely big enough for one pilot. It had light armor and weak weapons. But it was fast, cheap, and easy to build. The idea was simple. Instead of a few powerful ships, they would use hundreds of small ones. They would attack like insects, overwhelming the enemy through sheer numbers. Minji led a test squadron of 50 fighters against a captured Council drone ship. The simulation began and the drone activated its defenses. Its powerful weapons locked onto the human fighters, but there were too many targets. The drone's computer could not track them all. While it destroyed some fighters, others slipped through and attacked from different angles. It works, Minji reported. The enemy's weapons are too slow to hit us all. If we attack in large numbers, we can overwhelm any ship. Earth Command immediately ordered 5,000 swarm fighters to be built. Then 10,000. Then 100,000. Factories worked day and night. Every person who could fly was trained as a pilot. Dr. Yuna Lee appeared on every screen in the galaxy. She had a message for the Council and for every species watching. You look at humans and see weak bodies, she said. You see that we have no claws, no armor, no natural weapons. You think this makes us inferior. She pulled up images of Earth's history. Ancient battles, medieval wars, world wars. But you do not understand what you are looking at, Yuna continued. For thousands of years, humans fought each other. We created weapons because we had no claws. We built armor because we had no scales. We invented strategy because we were not strong enough to win by strength alone. More images appeared. Nuclear explosions. Chemical weapons. Biological warfare. We created weapons that could destroy our own planet, she said. We came so close to extinction that we learned to fear ourselves. That is why we stopped fighting each other. Not because we became weak, but because we became too dangerous. She looked directly into the camera. You attacked New Jeju thinking you were fighting a weak species. You were actually waking up a sleeping monster. You reminded us what we are capable of, and now you will see what happens when humans go to war. The message ended. Across the galaxy, species watched in silence. Some felt fear. Some felt excitement. The Council had ruled for so long, been so powerful for so many years. Now someone was finally standing up to them. In Council space, General Thex was organizing a massive counteroffensive. He had been embarrassed at New Jeju. Now he would show humanity real power. He assembled 200 warships, the largest fleet ever gathered. His target was Earth itself. We will destroy their homeworld, he announced. Once Earth falls, the humans will have no choice but to surrender. The Council agreed. The fleet began moving toward Earth. It would take weeks to cross the distance, but when they arrived, they expected to end the war in days. But something strange began happening across Council space. Infrastructure started failing. Power grids went dark. Communication networks crashed. Supply ships disappeared. It was not random. It was planned. Specialist Yoonji Nam sat in a dark room on a secret Earth base, her fingers moving across multiple keyboards. She was humanity's best cyber warfare expert. She and her team had spent months studying Council computer systems, finding weaknesses. Now they were attacking. Their networks are not designed for warfare, Yoonji explained to her commanding officer. They have been at peace for so long they forgot to protect themselves. We can hack almost anything. She demonstrated by taking control of a Council traffic system on a distant planet. Suddenly, every transportation network stopped working. Ships crashed. Trains derailed. Chaos spread. Now multiply that across 1,000 planets, Yoonji said. The Council will spend so much time fixing problems, they will not have resources for the war. Meanwhile, Commander Jemin's special operations teams were spreading across Council space. They were not just destroying targets anymore. They were making the Council people afraid. Fear was the goal. Fear was the weapon. One team hijacked a council broadcast station and showed footage from New Jeju. Not the battle, but what came after. They showed council soldiers shooting wounded humans. They showed civilians being rounded up. They showed the cruelty. "This is what your government does," the message said. "This is what your leaders ordered."
Is this what you want?
Other species under council control saw the broadcasts. They saw that the council was not noble or just. They were bullies, and bullies could be beaten. On Earth, the massive war fleet was ready. Fleet Admiral Taeyang Shin stood on the bridge of his flagship, looking at the fleet assembled around him. 300 ships, not as individually powerful as council vessels, but faster, smarter, and crewed by people who had nothing to lose. "The council fleet is heading here," Taeyang said to his officers. "They think they are going to destroy Earth. They are wrong. We are not going to defend Earth. We are going to attack them." Everyone looked at him in surprise. "While they come here, we will attack their homeworlds," Taeyang explained. "Their planets have no defenses. They never expected to be invaded. We will show them what it feels like to have their homes threatened." It was a dangerous plan. If it failed, Earth would be undefended. But Taeyang knew something about humans that the council did not understand. Humans fought best when they had no other choice. The human fleet began moving, not toward the approaching council armada, but around it. They were going straight for the council's core systems. Captain Hyunwoo, now fully recovered from the Battle of New Jeju, led the advance force. As his ship jumped into council space, he thought about Ambassador Minho's words from months ago. "We remain committed to peaceful cooperation." That time was over. The council had started this war. Now humanity would finish it. His communication officer spoke up. "Captain, we are receiving a message. It is from the Bexari people." Hyunwoo did not recognize the name.
Who are they?
"A species conquered by the council 200 years ago," the officer explained. "They are offering to help us. They say they want to fight for their freedom." Hyunwoo felt something he had not felt since this war began. Hope. The humans were not alone anymore. The council fleet approached Earth like a dark cloud covering the stars. 200 warships, each one massive and powerful. General Thek stood on his command ship, confident and ready. In his mind, this battle was already won. "Prepare all weapons," he ordered. "We will destroy their orbital defenses first, then the cities on the planet. Leave nothing standing." But something was wrong. His sensors showed far fewer Earth ships than expected. Where was their fleet? "General," his tactical officer said nervously, "we are receiving emergency transmissions from the homeworlds. Multiple human fleets have entered our space. They are attacking Korthos, Drell, and Xanthus simultaneously." Thex felt ice in his veins. The humans were not defending their homeworld. They were attacking his. "That is impossible," he said. "That would require them to divide their forces. They would leave Earth vulnerable." But the transmissions kept coming: panic, destruction, calls for help. The humans had chosen offense over defense. It was insane. It was illogical. It was working. On Korthos, Captain Hyunwoo's fleet dropped out of hyperspace above the capital city. Below him was a planet of billions, the heart of council civilization. It had never been attacked. Never been threatened until now. "Launch all fighters," Hyunwoo ordered. "Follow the attack plan. Military targets only, but make sure everyone sees us." Captain Minjio led the first wave of swarm fighters. 500 small ships moving like a school of fish. The planet's defense systems activated, but they were not prepared for this. The defenses were designed for ships, not swarms. The fighters dodged the big weapons easily. They struck communications towers, military bases, and ship construction yards. Explosions lit up the planet's surface. Minji's squadron moved so fast that by the time the defenders reacted, the fighters were already gone. The psychological impact was greater than the physical damage. The council people looked up and saw human ships in their sky. Their leaders had promised them safety, promised them superiority. Those promises were burning. Commander Jaemin and his special operations team were already on the planet's surface. They had infiltrated days before the fleet arrived. Now they struck from within. His team hit the central power station, plunging half the capital into darkness. They destroyed transportation hubs, creating chaos in the streets. They broadcast messages telling the people that their government had lied to them, that the humans were not weak, that the council was not invincible. "Spread fear," Jaemin told his team. "Make them understand they are vulnerable. On Drell, the military stronghold of the Council, Fleet Admiral Taeyang Xin faced a different challenge. This planet had real defenses. Military stations orbited it. Warships patrolled the space around it. But Taeyang had brought Engineer Hanabei's new weapons. Thousands of small missiles, each one cheap and simple. The Drellian defenses tried to shoot them down, but there were too many. The missiles struck military targets across the planet. Not enough to cripple the military, but enough to make them pull back forces to defend their own world. Send a message to General Thex, Taeyang ordered. Tell him that for every human who died at New Jeju, we will make his people suffer 10 times over. Tell him that we will not stop until he surrenders. Back at Earth, the battle for the homeworld began. General Thex had 200 ships against Earth's orbital defenses and the small fleet that had stayed behind. What he did not know was that Earth had been preparing for this moment since New Jeju fell. Every satellite, every space station, every piece of orbital infrastructure had been turned into a weapon. The Council fleet advanced and ran straight into the largest minefield ever created. Thousands of mines, each one programmed to target enemy ships. The explosions created a wall of fire in space. Ships made it through, but they were damaged and disorganized. Then Earth's defense platforms opened fire. Lasers, missiles, railguns. Everything humanity could build pointed at the invaders. Admiral Suji had died at New Jeju, but her protege, Commander Bora Yoon, was in charge of Earth's defense. She had learned from Suji's sacrifice. All ships ramming speed on my mark, Bora ordered. Commander, that is suicide, and her second officer said. Yes, Bora agreed. But it works. Admiral Suji proved that. Sometimes the only way to win is to refuse to lose. But before she could give the final order, something unexpected happened. Ships began dropping out of hyperspace behind the Council fleet. Not human ships. Alien ships. The Bexari had come, and they brought friends, 12 different species, all of them former subjects of the Council. They had lived under Council rule for centuries, afraid to fight back. Now, inspired by humanity's resistance, they had found their courage. The Council fleet was now surrounded, enemies in front, enemies behind. The battle turned into chaos. Sergeant Jun-Ho Lee watched the space battle from Earth's surface. He had survived New Jeju barely. He was in a hospital, recovering from his wounds. But he could see the flashes of light in the sky as ships exploded. Private Daehyun Song sat beside him. He had also survived, though he had lost an arm in the fighting. We are winning, Daehyun said, his voice full of wonder. No, Jun-Ho corrected him. We are surviving. That is what humans do best. In space, the 3-day Battle of Earth raged. The Council's superior firepower slowly ground down the defenders. But every hour they fought at Earth was another hour that human fleets ravaged their homeworlds. General Thex received reports of the destruction. His home planet was under attack. His people were dying. His military bases were burning. He had a choice: continue the attack on Earth or return to defend his homeworld. He chose his people. All fleets withdraw. Return to defensive positions around the homeworlds. The order went out. The Council fleet began retreating. Earth's defenders were too exhausted to pursue. They just watched as the enemy ships jumped away. On the surface, people cheered. They had survived. Earth still stood. But Commander Bora knew the truth. They had not won. The Council fleet was still mostly intact. They had just bought time. The real question was, what would humanity do with that time? The answer came from Fleet Admiral Taeyang. His fleets pulled back from the Council homeworlds before the returning ships could engage them. They had done their damage and escaped with minimal losses. But as they retreated, they left behind special operations teams. Commander Jamin and dozens of units like his, hidden on Council worlds, ready to strike again and again. The war entered a new phase. Not fleet battles, but guerrilla warfare. Not conquering planets, but spreading fear and disruption. The Council had technology. They had powerful weapons. They had numbers, but humans had something else. They had the will to fight in the shadows, to strike from nowhere, to never surrender. Dr. Yuna Lee analyzed the results of the recent battles. Earth had lost 40 ships. The Council had lost 140. The human colonies had lost some territory, but they had gained something more valuable: allies. She appeared on broadcasts across the galaxy again. The Council told you they were invincible. They lied, we proved it. They told you that resistance was futile. We proved them wrong. They told you that humans were weak. Now they know the truth. She paused, looking directly into the camera. We are not the strongest species. We are not the smartest. We are not the oldest or the wisest. But we have one advantage that matters more than all of those things combined. We never give up, ever. Across the galaxy, on 100 worlds, people heard her words. Species that had been conquered, enslaved, oppressed for generations. They looked at the humans and thought, if they can fight back, so can we. The Council suddenly faced rebellions on a dozen worlds. Strikes, protests, sabotage? Nothing major, but enough to tie up resources. Enough to spread their forces thin. Captain Hyunwoo, now promoted to admiral after his successful raids, met with representatives of the allied species. The meeting took place on a neutral station, far from both human and council space. We cannot win this war alone, one alien representative said. The council is too powerful. But together we might have a chance. What do you propose? Hyunwoo asked. A coordinated strike. All of us attacking at once. Not to conquer, but to force the council to negotiate. Hyunwoo thought about it. The council still had more ships, more resources. But they were now fighting on multiple fronts. They were spread thin. And most importantly, they were learning what humans had known for centuries. That fear was as powerful as any weapon. We will do it, Hyunwoo agreed. But on one condition. This is not a war of conquest. We are not trying to become the new council. We are fighting for freedom. For all species, including theirs. He gestured to an image of council citizens. The council leaders started this war. But their people are not our enemies. They are victims too, controlled by leaders who think might makes right. The allied species agreed. They would fight, but they would fight for liberation, not domination. The stage was set for the final confrontation. Humanity and its allies versus the Council. Not just a battle of weapons, but a battle of ideologies. The Council believed in power through strength. Humans believed in strength through determination. Only one philosophy would survive. The war had been going for 8 months. 8 months of battles, raids, and chaos. The galaxy was changing, and everyone could feel it. On the Council Station Apex Prime, where this had all begun, Council Leader Vrath looked at reports and felt something he had not felt in 1,000 years. Doubt. 17 species had joined the human rebellion. Production across Council space was down by 40% due to strikes and sabotage. His fleet was spread across 100 systems trying to fight everywhere at once. And the humans, those weak, fragile humans, were still fighting. How many ships have we lost? Vrath asked his military advisor. 347, came the reply. The humans have lost less than 100. That is impossible. Our ships are superior. Yes, leader. But they use tactics we have never seen. They attack in swarms. They ram our ships. They hide among asteroids and strike when we do not expect it. They fight without honor. Vrath wanted to argue, but he could not. The humans did not fight by galactic rules. They fought to win. General Thex entered the council chamber. He looked tired, older. The Battle of New Jeju seemed like it had happened years ago, not months. He had been so confident then. Now he just looked defeated. We cannot win this war, Thex said simply. Not like this. Every day more species join the rebellion. Every day we lose more ships. The humans are teaching everyone their tactics. Soon all of our subject species will fight like humans. What do you suggest? Vrath asked. Surrender? Negotiate, Thex said. Before we lose everything. Vrath wanted to refuse. The council had never negotiated with inferiors. But he was smart enough to recognize reality. The council had started this war because they saw humans as weak. They had been catastrophically wrong. On Earth, Fleet Admiral Taeyang Shin received an unexpected message. The council wanted to talk. They were offering a ceasefire. It is a trap, one of his officers said. Maybe, Taeyang agreed, but we should listen. We have made our point. Now let us see if they learned the lesson. The meeting was arranged at a neutral location. Admiral Hyunwoo would represent humanity. Other allied species would send their representatives, and the council would send General Thex himself. Dr. Yuna Lee joined the diplomatic mission. As the person who had studied alien psychology, she might be useful in negotiations. They met in a simple room on a trading station that belonged to no government. Hyunwoo entered and saw General Thex waiting. The alien general who had destroyed New Jeju, the one who had killed so many humans. Hyunwoo felt anger rise in his chest. but he pushed it down. This was not the time for revenge. This was the time for peace. "Thank you for coming," Thek said. His voice was different now. Less arrogant. "More careful. Let us skip the pleasantries," Hyunwoo said. "Why are we here?" "To end this war," Theks replied. "The Council is prepared to offer terms." "Terms?" One of the allied species representatives laughed. "You are in no position to offer terms. Your fleet is scattered. Your people are rebelling. You are losing." Thex's face showed pain. "Yes, we are losing. I admit it. You have taught us a lesson we needed to learn. And what lesson is that?" Hyunwoo asked. "That power is not the same as strength," Thex said slowly. "We had power. We had weapons, ships, technology, but you had strength. The strength to fight when fighting seemed hopeless. The strength to sacrifice everything for freedom. We thought those things were weaknesses. We were wrong." Dr. Yuna leaned forward. "You attacked us because we looked weak. You studied us for 50 years and saw only soft skin and short lives. What do you see now?" Thex was quiet for a long moment. "I see a species that survived thousands of years of warfare against itself, and learned to direct that warfare outward. I see a species that turned every disadvantage into innovation. I see a species that would rather die than submit." He looked directly at Hyunwoo. "I see the most dangerous species in the galaxy, and I am terrified of what you might become." "Good," Hyunwoo said. "You should be terrified, because we will never stop fighting for freedom, not for ourselves and not for any other species. That is the lesson you need to understand." The negotiations took days. The Council wanted to maintain some authority. The humans and their allies wanted complete freedom. They argued about territory, trade rights, military restrictions. Finally, they reached an agreement. The Treaty of Apex Station. The terms were simple. All species would have equal representation in a new galactic assembly. No species could claim authority over another. Military intervention was forbidden except in self-defense. Trade would be free and fair, and most importantly, the Council would release all subject species from their control. Council leader Varath read the treaty and knew it meant the end of everything the Council had built, their empire, their power, their authority. All gone, but the alternative was continued war, and the Council could not win that war. He signed the treaty. Across the galaxy, celebrations erupted. Species that had been enslaved for centuries were suddenly free. Humans became heroes. The species that had dared to fight back and inspired everyone else to do the same. But on Earth, the mood was more complicated. Yes, they had won, but the cost had been terrible. Admiral Suji Kang was dead. Sergeant Junho Lee was disabled and would never fight again. Private Daehyun Song had lost his arm. Thousands of soldiers had died. New Jeju was in ruins. Dozens of colonies had been damaged. Captain Hyunwoo, now a hero across human space, stood at the memorial for New Jeju. 200,000 names carved into stone. He thought about the council meeting all those months ago, when they had called humans weak. "We proved them wrong," someone said behind him. It was Ambassador Minho Choi, the diplomat who had stayed calm even when insulted. "At what cost?" Hyunwoo asked. "The cost of freedom," Minho replied. "Freedom is never free. It is paid for in blood and sacrifice. Our people understood that. They chose to fight rather than submit. Would you have wanted them to choose differently?" Hyunwoo thought about it. "No, we had no choice. If we had surrendered, we would have been slaves or dead. At least this way we kept our dignity." "More than dignity," Minho said. "We kept our future. And we gave dozens of other species their future too." On Apex Prime, a ceremony was held to establish the new Galactic Assembly. Representatives from every species attended. When it was humanity's turn to speak, they sent an unexpected person. Private Daehyun Song walked to the podium. He was young, just 20 years old now. His left arm was artificial, a prosthetic that had replaced the one he lost at New Jeju. He wore the uniform of the Earth Defense Force, but he was not a soldier anymore. He was a symbol. "I fought at New Jeju," Daehyun began. His voice was quiet but steady. "I was 19 years old. I had never been in a real battle before. When the council ships arrived, I was terrified." He looked around at all the alien representatives. "We knew we could not win. We knew most of us would die, but we fought anyway." "Do you know why?" The chamber was silent. "Because we are human," Daehyun continued. "And humans have a rule. We do not give up. Ever. It does not matter if the odds are impossible. It does not matter if victory seems hopeless, we fight. Because fighting is better than kneeling. He touched his artificial arm. I lost my arm in that battle. I lost friends. I lost people I loved. But I would make the same choice again. Because freedom is worth any sacrifice. Daehyun looked directly at where the council leaders sat. You thought we were weak. You thought our soft skin and fragile bodies meant we would break easily. But you forgot something important. Strength is not about how hard you can hit. Strength is about how many times you can get hit and keep standing up. He smiled. Humans have been getting knocked down for thousands of years. We always get back up. That is what makes us strong. The speech ended. For a moment, nobody moved. Then slowly, the representatives began to applaud. Even the council leaders joined in. They understood now. They had learned the hard way what humanity really was. Fleet Admiral Taeyang Shin was asked to make closing remarks. He stood before the assembly and spoke clearly. The council judged humanity by our physical characteristics. They saw we had no claws and assumed we were harmless. They saw we had no armor and assumed we were vulnerable. They saw our short lifespans and assumed we were insignificant. He paused. But they did not understand that our weakness is our strength. Because we are fragile, we invented protection. Because we are vulnerable, we invented weapons. Because our lives are short, we fight to make every moment matter. Taeyang looked around the chamber. The council also made another mistake. They thought that power meant being able to dominate others. But real power is different. Real power is having the strength to fight for what is right, even when it costs everything. He gestured to the representatives of all the species. We did not fight this war to become the new rulers of the galaxy. We fought to prove that no one should rule over others. We fought for a galaxy where every species has a voice, where strength is measured by character rather than by weapons. Taeyang smiled. The council called humans weak. They were correct about our bodies, but they were wrong about everything else. Because true strength comes from here, he pointed to his heart, not from muscles or armor or weapons. The new Galactic Assembly was officially established. The first vote was simple. Should military conquest be forever banned in galactic civilization?